How are we doing on the cards, you guys? Everybody, how are the cards? Where are the cards? Who needs cards? Oh man, we got a lot of people here. Okay, so here we're going to adapt, okay? Because I have 6 questions that we were going to use the cards for. But now, if you will only take 3 cards and give 3 to someone who, all right? Everybody should have 3, so we will write the answers on. Take 3 cards. It's going to be a long night, Dr. Phil. I feel this is going to be a long night.
It's up to you, man.
All right. No, we're okay. We're okay. Everybody good? 3 cards? All right. All right, everybody? All right. Is this, Sean, is this work? You're okay with that? Okay. You guys can hear me, I trust? Okay. So here's my proposed agenda for you. The introduction, which we're kind of, I think we've already checked that off. I want to ask you some questions. I want to see what you think about some questions on our topic of the night. I want to then turn a little bit to the definition of altruism and look at that. I'll say a few words about the foundation of servant leadership and what I see as 3 of its cardinal virtues. Then I will tell you, for what little it may be worth, what I think about some of this stuff. And then I thought we would have a discussion of it. And then I thought I would conclude and say thank you. And we'll try to do this in about an hour. Does anyone object to that? Does anyone have any better ideas than that? Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. Okay. What do you think? That's a great servant leader question, by the way. I've found in my own experience and study, right? What do you think is something that, about anything? I mean, you know. Okay, but don't worry. All right. On the first card, we have 2 different classes here now, right? All right. So I've got bad news and good news for you, right? I'm giving you the bad news first. This is a quiz. But the good news is only you are going to know the answers and grade yourselves. Yay. But if we want, we can make this a competition between the 2 classes. No. Just checking. Okay. All right. Question number 1, I'm going to give you just, 15, 20 seconds. Don't overthink it. Remember, only you are going to see your cards. How do you define altruism? Just jot down a few words on that. Right? Everybody get this? You guys with me? Everybody with me? You might write the number 1 on your card so you don't forget. What? Take 20 seconds. I'll look at my watch.
Mine's the best.
We'll be the judge of that. Okay? Anybody? Okay. You can come back to it. Okay, number 2. Number 2. Come on, number 2. Whoops. Hang on. What do you think? Number 2. Can a person be truly altruistic as you understand it? Can a person be truly altruistic? If you do not have a view on this, or you don't know, or you don't really care, just write, I don't care, or I don't know. Right? I mean, there's no... Yeah. This is actually a debate in the people who study altruism. I debate this. I don't study altruism, but I just... Okay? Whoops. What is this? All right. No, don't answer that. Wait. Yes or no? Is altruism relevant to servant leadership? Yes? Simply yes or no? As you understand it. Some of you are a little bit more in studying it than others, but Is it related? Is it relevant? Is it relevant? Is altruism, as you understand it, relevant? Just yes or no? Or if you don't care, just write, I don't care. I'm going to figure this out before the night's over, guys. Don't worry. And on the related to that yes or no, why or why not, right? Is it altruism, as you understand it, relevant to servant leadership? Yes or no, why or why not? Or take a minute on that. Danielle, you're good up there?
I'm good up here.
You can hear me up there? Okay.
Would you like me to participate?
No, well, sure, whatever. It's all about you.
Sure.
Ain't about me. All right. Well, what do we got here? Well, there must be another question. Whoops. Hang on. What is the okay? This is what is the opposite of selfish? One word. One word. You can only put one word on this one. What is the opposite of selfish? This one you have to answer. You can't write I don't care. This is important. You guys, you're good there? You having drop your cards? No. What's it like sitting next to the professor? Is that like intimidating over there, or? All right. How are you guys on the cards? Are you with me? Everybody's with me?
Yep.
All right. Come on. All right. Definition of altruism. This is from Merriam-Webster. All right. Feelings and behavior that show a desire to help other people and a lack of selfishness. Feelings and behavior that show a desire to help other people and a lack of selfishness. Full definition: unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others. And number 2, behavior by an animal that is not beneficial to or may be harmful to itself, but that benefits others of its species. So, boiling that down a bit for you, desire, which is desire to help others. So it's not just accidental, it's got to be intentional conduct. Action that helps others, and a lack of selfishness is the way I kind of read the main definition. How do you feel about your definitions so far? Right? A little bit more on this, because I know that some of you would like to know the French origin of the word altruism. Right? Because that's, somebody in here has got to want to know. Often defined to include beneficial acts done without expectation of reciprocity. I do that beneficial act not expecting anything in return. That's often the common way people use the word. And then this is the one that I find particularly interesting. We're going to come back to. Sometimes it's defined to include acts that are costly to the actor. You do something against your self-interest, like in that earlier definition. Something that's harmful to you but beneficial to others. Did anybody have that idea in their definition? You don't have to shake your heads, but right? So, you felt pretty good about your definitions? Everybody pass, more or less? Good. Okay. All right. Other people. Anybody speak French here? I can't pronounce that. Hey, that's good. So how do you pronounce this? Come on, man. You already opened yourself up to that. That's good. It sounded French, didn't it? Other people. Remember that, other people. Okay. What comes next? All right, foundation of servant leadership. The Servant as Leader is a book. Are you familiar, some of you, with this? Robert Greenleaf's book? Have you guys touched on this at all?
Some of the class.
Some of the class, okay. Robert Greenleaf. Do I have a picture of him? Let's see, maybe I do. There's the book, see? See that? See how tightly coordinated this is? I mean, this is not a coincidence that I'm holding this book, and I've got it on the screen. There's Robert Greenleaf. Robert Greenleaf was a a guy born in 1904 in Terre Haute, Indiana. He went to college. He was getting out of college. He was talking to one of his mentors and said he wanted to change the world. Robert Greenleaf said this, and his mentor said, "Bob, you want to go change the world? Go work for the biggest company you can find." Which is, you know, I don't think you necessarily hear that advice today. And so he went to work for AT&T, the largest company on planet Earth at the time, in like the 1920s. Very intelligent guy, and come on, people. After 38 years working at AT&T, he rose up through the ranks. He became quite an expert in what made effective managers and leaders at AT&T, in the business of AT&T. And he became head of management research, and really quite a, you know, a sophisticated guy on this in order to make AT&T a more successful company. So I say this because with some audiences, especially business audiences, right, they think that servant leadership is about hugging trees and being nice to people and, you know, volunteering and singing Kumbaya and things like that. And so the foundational thinker on this of the modern movement, right, he didn't invent it, by the way, he just sort of expressed it, and was a business guy, a very hard-thinking business guy. So I do a lot of work with businesses, and so I always am facing these myths, right, that this is soft, tree hugger, you know, sissy stuff. So I like to talk about Robert Greenleaf. The other thing that I often get, which is kind of relevant to this class, is this is about being a martyr. The martyr syndrome. This is about being a servant leader. I don't want to be a martyr, you know. And so I hope I can dispel that a little bit. Well, in this book, right, so Greenleaf, this is sort of the heart of it, right? The foundation of servant leadership. The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. So, right? So what distinguishes servant leadership, in my view, from other ways we talk about leadership is where it starts, right? Where it starts. And it starts with this desire to serve others. It's probably hardwired into us. It's probably in our DNA. It's probably in our ancient limbic brain somewhere. It's probably what allowed human beings, in my own opinion, to become so successful as a species through their evolution, right? Is this sort of deep desire to serve one another. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead, right? That's out of our analytical, more conscious brain, right? I've got a deep desire to serve, then I make the choice to lead, right? So that's how Greenleaf looked at it. The servant leader is sharply different from one who is leader first, perhaps because of the need to satisfy an unusual power drive or acquire material possessions, right? So it's a different starting place. And traditional leadership, the kind that I was a Wall Street lawyer once long ago, you know, that kind of behavior that you saw there was about power and money and wealth and prestige. And Greenleaf said, no, if that's where you're starting, then that's unlikely to be servant leadership. And of course, this leader first and servant first are two extreme types. Between them are shadings and blends that are part of the infinite variety of human nature. Right? So it's not, there's not, we're all somewhere on that scale, right? And so I talk about it, and I'm sure we all do, about it being a journey. You're never quite there, right? You can't get certified as a servant leader, in my view. Maybe you're doing that, but right? It's like being a saint. If you think you're a saint, you're not a saint, right? You're never there. So that's a great thing. So if you ask me what's the one thing that makes servant leadership different from other ways of thinking about leadership, I'd say it's where you start. It's where you start. You start in your heart, right? And with a desire to serve. And then you go that next step to lead, right? So I also, when I like to talk about servant leadership, I get a lot of these questions, especially from business people. You know, what makes, those are cardinals. I should have 3 cardinals, right? I was thinking someone's going to say, why don't you have 3 cardinals up there? I tried to find an image with 3 cardinals, but then I was thinking of St. Louis Cardinal, and I thought that probably wouldn't work for anybody. Right, so here's another kind of series of questions I get when I talk about servant leadership to less experienced people than you. Well, what makes it different, right? So let me ask you, are servant leaders courageous? I would say yes. I mean, courage is a virtue. There's lots of virtues. There's dozens of them, right? Courage and temperance and whatever, right? So are servant leaders honest? Yes. Are they, but there's certain things in my looking at it that make it different than other great ways. Yes, of course they're courageous. Of course they're, all the other great virtues. And here's how I look at them. Number one, humility. Humility is a virtue, and the writing and talking and thinking about servant leadership is always focused on that almost first. So there's a man named Jim Collins. Anybody ever heard of Jim Collins, popular business writer? He defines the top leader as a level 5 leader. He calls it level 5 leader. He says a level 5 leader combines two simple things: extreme drive and extreme humility. So humility is one of them. All right. So foresight is another. Robert Greenleaf said, look, what makes a leader is the ability to see the future, to hear the future, to listen for the future, right? There's something about foresight. In the old days, they called it prudence, but nobody uses that word anymore, actually. I don't know, no one wants to be a prude, I guess, but actually the ancient philosophers would call that prudence. But foresight, the ability to see the future. And then finally, the third one, generosity. Generosity is a virtue. And I think servant leaders are particularly generous in their, that's who they are, right? And they're particularly generous with power. So you notice my little, what is that, lightning bolt. They're particularly generous with power, right? They share it, they don't hoard it. So, what do I think?
Give and take.
Give and take. I have here a book called Give and Take. I have read this book. I put all these in there, actually, as I read it. Now, occasionally when I was younger and like in school, you would put these in when you don't read it and take it to class, because it then appeared as if you did read it. So we would do this when I worked at CARE also. We'd get these books, we had to read these stupid things. And you'd fold the pages, a bunch of the pages, and go like this, and anyway. This is a book by a Wharton professor named Adam Grant. I think this is maybe, in my opinion, this is the most important servant leadership book, in my opinion, maybe since Greenleaf wrote this in 1970, right? Adam Grant is a Wharton professor. He's a behavioral economist. He studies what people do and why they do it in a very rigorous, scientific, multiple regression kind of way, right? He's the youngest ever tenured professor at Wharton. Not that, I don't know why they keep saying that, but anyway, he's a smart guy. And he wanted to study what makes people successful. And he had a theory about it. He had some questions about it, right? He said there's 3 types of people in the world. There are givers, those who give unconditionally, not with expectation of return, right? Givers. He said there are takers, those who take, and they don't give anything back. They don't trade, right? And then there are reciprocators. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Quid pro quo, right? Those are the 3 types, he said. And he wanted to figure out which of these 3 types are the most successful. Which of these types are the most successful? So on card 6, I want you to guess, if you haven't read the book, which of those 3 types? Who wins? Givers, takers, or reciprocators? Who is the most successful? Just don't overthink it. Do you think? Don't overthink it, guys. Don't overthink it. All right. Should we, show of hands, would be embarrassed to do that or no? Who said givers? Okay. Who said takers? Okay. Who said reciprocators? Interesting. That's actually a pretty typical kind of percentages. Well, the answer Adam Grant says is the most successful people measured by various measures. He did a study of medical school, right? There are some students that help other people instead of study in study groups, and they check this. They could track their grades to see, right? And they track salespeople, which salespeople helped others and which didn't. They did all this. So it was very. Let's take it for granted that it's somewhat scientific. That it's very scientific. The the winner, the most successful, were givers. Who do you think was the least successful? Givers. What Grant found was that, was that those who gave intelligently always outperformed, whether they were salespeople or business people or stock traders or whatever, where they had some data, right? That the givers who gave intelligently, right, not expecting return, but always outperformed, were more successful. Those who gave unintelligently, however, right, you could imagine you help someone in your department, in your workplace, so much that you don't get your work done, you get fired, or you help someone else study for a test so much that you don't, that you don't study or whatever, right? So he found that people who were kind of foolish givers came out at the bottom. But he did find, most importantly, right, that the givers won out. And he said this, which I think is the kind of to our point here. The opposite of selfish is not selfless. If some of you may have wrote selfless, right? The opposite of selfish is otherish, right? It's not that you care about yourself less, you care about others, right? It's otherish. And when people act otherishly, not selflessly, but otherishly, they tend to succeed in whatever they're endeavoring, right? So that I found to be quite an important point and relevant to this, right? Oops. I wrote a blog about this. Doormats need not apply, because I kept getting asked this question: isn't servant leadership, that's weak. That's you get taken advantage of. It's being a martyr. People won't respect you. And I kind of applied Adam Grant's work to it. And here's what I concluded. So in serving, as in giving, the key is to be prudent. To be prudent. Selfless giving, in the absence of self-preservation instincts, easily becomes overwhelming, Grant says. Selfless giving, in the absence of self-preservation, easily becomes overwhelming. He makes a compelling case that the best path to success is not to be selfless, but rather to be otherish. Being otherish means being willing to give more than you receive, but still keeping your own interests in sight, using them as a guide for choosing when, where, how, and to whom to give. I believe the most effective servant leader has a high concern for others while at the same time paying appropriate attention to self-interest. That's another way Grant describes being otherish. So that's kind of what I think about this. Right? This is one of his subtitles for one of his speeches. Why helping others drives our success. Why helping others drives our success, right? So now my question is to you, right? Got the crickets going here. I kind of like the crickets. It's like summer. It reminds me of summer. Yeah? It's like being outside. All right, so colleagues, I've gone through that extremely quickly. We've looked at a definition of altruism. We have thought about that a little bit in the context of servant leadership, and we've looked at the desire to serve others as the foundational, kind of, in my view, the foundation of it. The three cardinal virtues: humility, foresight, and generosity, giving. Generosity, giving. And we've looked at, I've given you sort of the super duper high level summary of Adam Grant's work on giving and success. My question now, I'd like to open this up for you to react and comment. Do you think servant leadership is relevant to altruism? Do you think it's not relevant? What do you make of it? How is it relevant? Why is it not relevant? What do you think? How do you connect the dots? Yes, sir.
I have a little bit of a problem with the word altruism.
Okay.
And I mean, this is probably an extreme example of altruism in the early Soviet Union, when altruism meant a complete repudiation of even self-preservation.
Yes.
To the extent of, like, I'm in Leningrad, I'm surrounded by the Nazis, I have one piece of bread.
Yes.
I'm just likely to give it to you as I am to my own child.
Mm-hmm.
That was their idea of altruism.
Mm-hmm.
So with the otherish, he can contain that self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading a bunch of literature on servant leadership. They use the term altruism constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I know I gave a very extreme example.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't the otherish be probably a better term to use than altruism, or am I just defining altruism?
Who has a thought on that?
Because that was how the Soviet Union.
Yes, yes. And martyrdom is, of course, the ultimate, right? You know, right? I don't know the answer to that quite yet. Who can react to that, though? Yes, yes.
Reacting, I mean, Adam Grant said, give more than you receive, but keep your interests in mind.
Yes.
Which, from what we saw as a definition of altruism and what I think of as a definition of
Yep.
altruism, that's not altruistic. That's, you know, generous, it's considering
Yes.
others, but you're definitely taking your own, you know, future
Your success, because you're,
consideration.
right? Okay, yeah, it's interesting.
So by that definition, I feel like servant leadership would not be altruistic.
Interesting, interesting.
So could you go back to the definition? So,
I can do anything, I can, I think so.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah, this is to your point. Why helping others drives our success does not strike you as altruism, does it? I can do this, Phil. I can do this. I'm doing it, man.
That's right, yeah. 2 cards. All right, oh,
Wait, you want that one or
either way.
this is good? Right? Feelings,
And a lack of self.
lack of selfishness.
So, sometimes in my family, we make a distinction between selfishness and self-centeredness. And you're expecting me to say more, and I have no more.
I think you guys have framed the question quite well, the two of you, actually.
Or we also talk about egocentric versus self-centered.
Yes.
And I do believe there's a little bit of a difference there. I think that it can fit that, though, Eric. I think that I can desire to help and a lack of, yeah, I can do number one there, at top there, and still keep my own interests in mind. I can do that.
This is the one I think that causes people, that a lot of people think of it's doing something to your harm, right?
Or not beneficial.
This is more of an extreme kind of. All right, who else can react to this?
I have not read Adam Grant's book, but
You don't need to know. I've just given you the whole thing. I've just saved you like.
you're so kind. So there was a third possibility, and that was the reciprocal. And
Yes.
that sounds to me what is maybe being described, because you give and take. You
Mhm.
give smartly, and you
Yes.
take of your other members of society wisely as well. So would that not?
But would you serve somebody that you didn't have an expectation or an agreement or a contract or an understanding you would get something back? That's not being a reciprocator. You may hope that it will happen or know it or expect it, but it's not a deal. You know what I mean? That's what.
I think the way that it was framed, though, when you describe the givers,
Mhm.
and you said they give smartly, and the ones that gave poorly or
Right.
unwisely, that to me sounds like you're describing a give and take relationship. That's all.
Do you help me out here?
One a reciprocator only give and want something in return. They won't give until they.
And they understand there is something. I probably did a bad job at this, so Adam Grant, don't not buy his book because I did a bad job on that, right? Reciprocators, it's an agreement. It's I know I will do this because you will do that. A giver, I'm going to do this. I don't know if anything good will come of it. It's not part of our deal. You know, I'm not doing it in order to get something back from you. I'm just doing it unconditionally, giving you something.
But at the same time, he's not
But
going
I'm
to
not-
give you his house. Or
Right. So I'm going to do that prudently. And, you know, if you've taken from me 15 times, I may not do it the 16th time. That's the prudent part. But in the first instance, it is unconditional. The takers take, you know, without unconditional. Is that helping? Most people operate in this. Well, actually, we all operate in all modes, depending on where we are in our day or in our lives, right? the reciprocal is the common, business, right? In business, it's always you work, you get paid, whatever. So is that helping? Maybe not. Okay.
I'm kind of confused. So what you're saying, what I'm understanding is, servant leader is somebody who doesn't expect anything in return?
I'm asking you to help me figure this out. I don't know. I'm hold it. I'm going to come back to that.
So both of you make an interesting point, which makes me ask the same question. If you're a servant leader in an organization, aren't you looking for something in return? You're looking for your employees to work for you or work for the organization. So it may not be reciprocal to yourself personally, but it seems like there's definitely an end goal. I'm not going to bring you all donuts in the morning just because I want to bring you donuts in the morning. Bring you donuts in the morning because I want to bring you donuts and I want you to work. Maybe.
But it's not a deal. I'm not saying, if you work, I will bring you donuts.
Yeah.
Servant leaders do stuff unconditionally. They get joy out of it. They get service out of it. It just so happens that the way the magic of this, right? This is what Adam Grant's, that's why it's such an important book. There's like sort of a magic in it. There's like an invisible hand in it. There's a something that, right? That when people act this way, smartly, not stupidly, good things happen to them and those with whom they're in community. It's magic. It's magic. That's not making any, I'm sorry. Is that making any sense?
But isn't a servant leader who helps the people under him do their jobs better actually helping himself?
Yes. Correct.
Isn't that kind of reciprocal? Doesn't he go in knowing that if he helps them do better, it's going to help him?
Some do and some don't. I mean, but there's no
guarantee.
There's no guarantee of it. So remember, let me just bring us back, okay? The question here is altruism and servant leader, are they related? Are they unrelated? Right? I'm just trying to look. Next time I do this next year, I will know the answer, but now I'm trying to figure out the answer. What do you think? Who said related? Okay. Would you? That'd be great.
Because I feel like it's almost hard to, like you were saying, there's a difference between selfishness and like self-centeredness. Because you're always gonna, when you're doing something good or giving to people, there's always a little part of you that's like, that feels good.
Yes.
But I mean, you still do it because you want to help people. So
Yes.
I feel like that's the whole point of it. That's why it's relevant, it's related. You're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're caring.
I like that. Did everybody hear that? Are you adding, or who's at?
Can you paraphrase her comment?
They are related. That one, are you, Danielle, are you saying you couldn't hear it?
No, I just wanted to.
All right, so hold your point. Let me just,
Okay.
can I do, correct, hey, can you, if I mess this up, will you, okay. Now, issue number one is you often get people sometimes get joy out of doing kindness to others, right? So those who debate this stuff would say, well, then it's not really altruism because you're getting some benefit even right out of it. You're doing it to make yourself feel good, right? So that's one question that's always swirling around in this. The other is we do this stuff because we're compelled to do it and, right? And it's good and
But you want to do it.
and we want to do it, right? So remember Greenleaf's thing. Where does this start, right? Come on, you guys. The desire to serve, right? If you've got that in you, it's driving you, it's motivating you, right? You're inclined to this. Now, there are business. I'm sorry? Did I mess that up?
No, she said that's the altruism aspect of it, is where it starts.
That's, well, I can agree with that too. Now, there are some business people, right? So when I was at the Walt Disney Company headquarters 2 days ago with business executives, right? 7 business executives, senior guys, Burbank, California, right? They were hostile to this notion of servant leadership, some of them, right? If I can't get them, if their hearts aren't telling them, right, that this is the way that will lead to success, and this is good in and of itself, and whatever. Some of them can be persuaded to say, look, if you want more profits, you want higher employee engagement, you want lower turnover, you want to be the top in your industry, you know, right? Better employee satisfaction scores. Servant leadership will get you there. So I don't care if you're an asshole in your heart. Do it anyway, because you'll still succeed, you know? I don't like to start with that, and I don't say asshole to clients, you know? But I shouldn't have said it to you, in fact. But right? So there's yes, it can be an instrumentality. That doesn't sound at all like altruism to me, but am I making sense? Maybe I'm not. Danielle, I'm going to come. No, let's go to Danielle.
So, okay, a few of us were talking earlier about the difference between transformational leadership and servant leadership.
Yes.
And what we identified was that in transformation, you know, they're both very motivating, and, you know, they both have a lot of change and inertia and all that. And so what we were talking about, though, is that in transformational leadership, you're driving everyone to the organization's goal for what's good for the organization. Servant leadership, you're also going, okay, is this great for the organization, and is it great for the followers?
Yes.
So I think that's where your altruism comes in. Not that the organization doesn't also benefit, but that your followers do have a real benefit personally for themselves.
Yes. I think it's fundamentally, I think servant leadership is fundamentally otherish, right? There's something about it. It's about others, whether it's your followers or those you're serving or your clients or your customers or whatever. But you can see it's not as simple, right? It's not simple. As simple a question. And this is probably very unsatisfactory, right? We should have a clear answer on this. No? Who else has got a thought on this?
Well, I was just going to.
Yeah, oh, I'm so sorry.
What you were stating about, you're like, I can just do it anyways. You presented them with the facts, the statistics and everything, but my question would be then how genuine is it if they tried to implement it? Because it's not really
It's not.
from
It ain't genuine.
at all.
It ain't genuine. That's the problem with it. So when you're in the business context, that's very difficult. It's far more difficult if people don't have it, their motivations aren't aligned to it. And some of the research on this, right? If it's not coming from your heart, you know, start with why. Now, the good news on that, right, is you're in a business culture or a context or whatever you guys are in, right? You don't need 100% of the people to be on board with this. You need a small group, and the others will follow. The others will follow. The people will behave consistently. They may not believe it so much in their hearts, but they will behave consistently if most people are doing it, and there's some positive results that flow out of it. So I don't have to, right? I just need right? What are they saying? Like a small committed group. The other, and it's a small percentage, and then it'll tip. But if it's not as a change thing. If you don't own it in your hearts, you know, my experience with that is that doesn't last very long, at all. Who else? Altruism. Is this you guys back there? You just taking it all in, or you're good?
I mean, I think they're both slanted towards like the good of others.
Yes. Yes.
I think they go hand in hand because they are focused on not so much the good of me and what I can get out of a situation, but how I can help others. And if that helps me in the long run, then that's
right.
great. But they're both others focused. I think that's
yes.
I think that's the main similarity.
Other focus. That's why I gave you the French, actually, because it comes from the word for other, right? So the thing I would hate for if there's one thing I would want you to remember from this, as far as unless I'm wrong, would be that and you guys disagree with me, please. You can be a highly effective servant leader, and you don't have to be a martyr, and you can enjoy the success that comes to you through it, and the benefits that you will not be able to prevent, right? There will be acting consistent with servant leadership and being a good giver, right? Is going to bring whatever, it will bring you benefits. There's nothing to feel guilty about that. There's nothing dirty about that. There's nothing wrong with servant leaders making money or, whatever it may be. And I just know some people think, well, that's not really servant leadership then if you're not giving away all your possessions and living like Mother Teresa, which I think is crap. So.
Yeah, so with that thought, can Can I drive a Bentley or a Rolls and have servant leader written on the back of the car?
Yep. It's his prerogative.
You might motivate your employees.
See what you can do, see what you can do.
Who's got an answer to that? Yes. We'll go left to right.
If we're just gonna judge somebody by what they wear, what they drive, then, I mean, absolutely, they could be a certain leader. I mean, a very wise one.
So if you're leading by serving, and it's made you, your business done well enough, they pay you enough to afford that. I think as a servant leader, it would be almost irrelevant when you drive. But the altruistic thing then would be to sell it, drive a Ford Fusion, and buy 5 more for your employees. So that's where I see kind of the difference between altruism, not necessarily that altruism has to be a part of servant leadership. Because if you're going in every day and working for the good of your, the intrinsic kind of spiritual value of serving as its own end, and you lead that way, and your people, will probably respond to that, as opposed to selling my house, living in the shack in the woods so that everybody else can get making $70,000 a year so everyone else can make $70,000 a year.
So I don't think the issue is with the Bentley. I think the issue is the fact you put servant leader on the back of the car. So I think if you call yourself a servant leader, then you're not really a servant leader. If I call myself a leader in general or a good leader in general, I don't really think I'm a good leader by saying that. I think it's judged by my subordinates that they're the ones that make the decision to determine whether I'm a good leader or not.
That'd be a great license plate to have, wouldn't it, sir? That's okay. Who else? There were some other people commenting on this.
I was just gonna say that his material things should not justify whether he is or isn't a certain leader. If he likes to find things in life, that doesn't stop him from serving and helping others. That doesn't stop him from taking time out of his day because he may want a Bentley or he might want a 8-bedroom house. That's his prerogative, and if he has the money to pay for it, he can do so and still contribute to others and less fortunate, or helping others in places where he can.
That was good. Glad I'm not answering it. What do you guys think? Yes?
Well, if we're staying on Bentleys and stuff like that, the car itself it's not a better car than anything. Buying that car is a representation of power. The people who buy that car aren't buying it because it's, whatever. It represents power. The only people who want to show off that I've got power buy that car because it comes with a lot of meaning behind it. And so
I love that. 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 Everything communicates, guys. Look, everything communicates, right? So in this servant leadership stuff, here's a revelation I used to have. I used to think it was about being Dr. King or Mohandas Gandhi or that was right? And those grand acts of noble acts and courage and great things, right? I'm increasingly coming to the view that servant leadership is about the smallest acts. And everything communicates. So I'm wearing a tie tonight. Now, I always debate wearing a tie when I talk about servant leadership. Why? Because, what? On one hand, I want to show respect to you, right? And that's the way I was raised, dressing up is a way of showing respect. On the other hand, I'm standing up in front of you, I hate this room, right? No, because I would rather be sitting us around something, right? I don't talk about power, right? Well, I got it happening. I got the PowerPoint, I got my tie, right? So I'm always torn about buying the tie, but everything communicates. And it communicates, and people read this, right? I did a thing for Oracle, executive education for Oracle, right? My business partner and we did a fabulous presentation. I thought it was fabulous. I don't know. I guess they did. Anyway, at the end of it, these are serious salespeople for Oracle software. Guy comes up. Love the presentation. No, I got to tell you, that was great. You know what really struck me the most? We said, what? Guy says, the way you met us before the presentation, and shook our hands and looked us in the eye and said, good morning. We just finished a 4-hour presentation, you know, complex, really well. And what struck the guy is the way we met him in the hall before it started and shook his hand. He says, I'm going to start doing that with my staff on Monday. And it dawned on us, like, of course, you know, of course, like everything communicates. Right? You know, how you write an email. Do you write your email with the most senior person coming first on the 2-line, or do you do it alphabetical, right? You're telling a lot the way you do that, you know? So I agree with you on that. That's I think is very insightful, that it seems unlikely that driving a car like that is often a show of power, and a little inconsistent with servant leadership, but to the point here, I don't think necessarily, and I think the minute you call yourself one, you're asking for trouble. It's a journey. You know, guys, it's a journey. You're never done with it. Never perfect. You take 2 steps forward and 1 step back and you screw things up. And does that make sense? Is that, yes?
We had heard a similar allegory yesterday. Somebody stands up to take the MVP award and they said, yes, I know I'm the best. You're lucky I'm on your team. And I'll sign autographs afterwards. Or the MVP that stands up and says, thank you. It took my team to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm happy
Yeah.
to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the difference in that, whether or not the first is still true, that you are the best.
Yeah.
That's why you're standing up there. You are the best on the team.
Yeah.
They're lucky to have you. You know, but do you say that? So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the leadership aspect that people look for.
Otherish. It's acting otherishly. This has been totally confusing, hasn't it? Is it? Are you sure? I think it's just a series of interesting issues. I just don't want people, the one thing I do feel strongly, I do not want people to think that you couldn't have, who said the finer things in life, or that, you know, that it's about, right, that I know people that will tell, you know, that have told me in discussions of servant leadership, you know, you shouldn't make money doing this. I mean, I charged Walt Disney Company for going out to California and, you know, and made money doing that, or that it's, you know, you should, it's only for faith-based organizations or for nonprofits or stuff like this, or, you know, you've got to be so self-deprecating that, you know, you can't enjoy the success that comes from being a servant leader, and I just don't want anyone to think that. I just don't think that's right. That's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. I think I promised you an hour. Let me see if I've got any slides left. Probably don't. Do I have any slides left? Let's see. Got that. Old Bob Greenleaf. Foresight, generosity. This is like a review. Givers, takers, reciprocators, we did that. Who wins? Givers, takers, we did that. Remember otherish. My blog, your own success. What do you think? We've just done that. Oh, let's connect on LinkedIn. Any of you that would like to, I love LinkedIn, so feel free to just send me a LinkedIn thing. Let's see. Oh, where's Danielle? Don't have to do this. We can do it after. I got to get a picture of me with this book. Because I'm going to send this to Adam Grant, you see.
You with the book and the audience in the back.
Yeah, that's it. Would you guys humor me with this?
Like, do you stay where you are?
And then also, I'd love if you would like to. I want to send this to Adam Grant. I'm going to tell him I'm selling his book, you see.
Okay. How about...
Maybe,
Can you sit in that middle chair right there?
Sit?
No.
How about if I... Help me out. How should I do this, right? Maybe I could put... What if I put his book on the thing? I'll get his book up there.
Get a couple pictures too.
Smile at selfish, but if you look
All right.
Yeah,
Help me out. What do you think?
I mean, stand about right here and look this way, and I just want everybody in the background. Maybe we'll take another one.
Like, look like you're out. You're like enthralled.
Okay.
This is not going to work.
Okay, all right. 1, 2,
Yeah, this is good. Make sure you get some of the students in there, okay?
Who do I look at?
Yes,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
get it from behind where you've got.
yeah, that's good. Thank you guys. You're doing me a favor with this.
Why don't we all turn this way too? So
Yeah,
you're all-
yeah, even better. Yeah, turn, look up at Danielle. Come on, you guys. No, no, do this. Go like this.